Hi, we're going to continue lesson 5, and in this example, or in this lesson, we're going to understand what does it mean when our rows total to 100% or our columns total to 100%. So I have copied our table from up above. I'll return there. Our table up above here, this first one we made, where we wrote the percents by gender. So I brought the table down here, and that's where we're going to begin today. Now, we said that this bottom row is not necessary, that it doesn't provide any useful information. So let's just get rid of it. I have to admit that's kind of satisfying to do. So this is all the information that we need to work with. And just for the sake of clarity, let's remove our extra scratch work there. And that's our final result. Now, here's what we want to do. Notice this. Since the rows total 100%, then gender is called here's your word of the day. It's so important that maybe we'll do it in blue. Or how about that electric blue? Is called the explanatory variable. EXPL, explanatory variable. We'll define it here in a moment. It's called the explanatory variable with categories of male and female. Now, let's see. The next part then is that means that the columns are then the response variable, and that one we'll also do in our bright blue, or then the response variable. And response variable, the columns are then the response variable of transportation with categories of, and our categories are the car, truck, SUV, and minivan. Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. We'll just use the same notation we had SUV or minivan, SM, and other. Now, what are those and what do these things mean? So let's do this. Let's write this in blue. So the explanatory variable is the categories being compared. Okay, so you can see that that we're comparing the gender, in this case, males and females. So we'll just put comma, in this case, males to females. And then the response variable, is the outcomes of the comparison. Okay, so in this case, it's the mode of transportation. So we'll put mode of transportation. Oops, not node. We want mode. All right, so let's make a comparison. So when a study is done, they have this information and they compute their table. It's based on percentages of some of the categories, in this case our explanatory variable, which is the gender, and then we ask some kind of question. So for example, let's just look at gender and cars. So you could say, notice that as a percentage, and they have to be in percents, you can't compare based on the hard numbers, you have to compare based on the percentages. So based on the percentages, looks like females are more likely than males to drive a car. And so we write this. Here's how the results of our survey would be. You would say, of those surveyed, 85, whoops, let me check, 80, sorry, it was 83.3, wasn't it? Let's go check it, 83.3. 83.3% of females drive a car. And 60, what did we have for our males? Let's double check. 65% of our males drove a car, so, and 65% of males drive a car. So here's what we can say. We can say females are, and then this is the interesting part. And what we do is we always use the larger percentage and we divide it by the smaller percentage. So we have 83.3. We take it, we divide it by the 65, and let's go over to Good Grapher and we'll take a look. So Good Grapher says that if we take 83.3 and we divide it by 65, we get 1.28. We'll round to nearest 100. So we say females are 1.28 times more likely to drive a car than males. And that is how you can use your study to report the information. It has to be converted first to percentages, and then you use your explanatory variable to pick a category that you want to compare. In this case, we're comparing gender with driving a car. And we could change this. We could do any of these categories, any of these. For example, we might want to take a look at SUVs and minivans. And we can switch this. So in the previous example, we took the larger number. And whenever you begin with the larger number, you're going to have a more likely. But let's continue with the females first. And notice that females is smaller than the males. And so we would come down here and we could write it this way. Let's see. So we'd say of those surveyed, let's see, 10% of females drive a car. Sorry, drive an SUV, or minivan. You would, if you were writing a formal paper, you would write it out, but we're just going to use the coding that we have on our table. And 25% of males drive a car. Drive an SUV or minivan. So we could say females are, and again we put the large number over the smaller number, so we're going to take the 25, we're going to divide it by the 10, and if we do that, let's go back to Good Grapher really quick. So we'll go 25 divided by 10, and we get 2.5. Wow, that's a lot. So I want to go back to Notability. And so we can say 25 divided by 10 equals 2.5. So we'd say females are 2.5 times. In this case, since it's smaller, it's less likely to drive a car or drive an SUV or minivan than males. And that is how you use the information here to make a comparison. And that's all you can say. You can't say more and you can't say less. This is just how we can use the information correctly. Now, when you do this, this kind of a study is called an observational study. And all it is you go and survey people. So that's all it is. It's just a survey. And I think the easiest way to think of that is just it's a snapshot in time. It might change. It might change if you snapshot in time. It may change if you were to go survey a different group of people. And it may change in that what we didn't know is that one of our people might be selling their SUV and buying a car. And so later in time, these results, even with the same group, might change. So at that point in time, this is what we observed. Can't say more, can't say less, and we can't imply causation. And when you want to see if something makes a change, then it becomes an experimental study. And this is where you try to control change over time. Okay, so what we're looking at today and in our practice problems are observational studies, and that is how we, and using the language that we practiced right here, that is exactly how we would report the results of our survey. Can't say more, can't say less. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.